Hey, what up, guys? It's Vel here, and I am bringing you a video today of how to league start my Explosive Concoction Ascendant for 3.18 Sentinel League. I absolutely love this build. I hope that if anybody is considering this build, they're on the fence about this build, that showing this video will get rid of any league start worries that they had about it. Personally, I think it's a fantastic build to run the Uba bosses. So what I'm going to go over in this video is what you need to get through the axe and why you need to get it to give yourself a really smooth league start. One thing you definitely need to have your eyes open for is Sapphire and Topaz Flask. You can get them to drop super early, but they do about 40% total, 20% each, of Explosive Concoction's damage. So before you switch over to Concoction in Act 3, you would like to get yourself at least one of those. Now, if you're playing Trade League, you can just buy it for 1C. That's usually what they are on League Start or an ALC. If you're not on Trade, just open your eyes, check that ground. I found them as early as Act 2, and I found them as late as getting them from the quest in Act 5. So really all you need is one to get the Explosive Concoction to feel good and really get going. All right. Another thing I would like to mention about these flasks is save your alts. You would like to roll these flasks ideally with gain a number of charges on hit to sustain them. I mean 6, 7. Honestly, when I first started this run through, I think I had 3 charges on hit on my Topaz Flask. And I mean, it was sustaining, so that was good. So let's get right into Act 1. You don't get Explosive Concoction until Act 3. So Act 1, we're actually going to start out with Splitting Steel. Then you're going to get Chance to Bleed after killing Hail Rake and the Onslaught. That's going to be your 3-socket setup, or your 3-link setup, until you get Poison Concoction. At the end of Act 1, you get it from the Mervale Cave quest reward. It's actually not the quest reward for you. You will have to buy it. It costs 1 transmute, but that's when it becomes available to buy. There's a lot of gems to be picked up here off your quest rewards and from the vendor to switch over to Poison Concoction. So you would want to grab yourself Vitality. That's really good. Definitely get yourself Pierce for your Herald of Agony in Act 2, and you can get yourself Life Tap. Decoy Totem is really comfortable to run with, and Dash and Steel Skin from either the quest reward or vendor, you want both. Because you're going to be using Poison Concoction from the end of Act 1 up till you can put on your Explosive Concoction in Act 3, Act 4, depending on your flask situation, you're definitely going to want to keep your eyes open for 3 green. This is going to be for the Poisonous Concoction, the Volley, and Void Manipulation. That's generally the setup you're going to want from the end of Act 1 until you get on Explosive Concoction. Barrage for Poison Concoction, Explosive Concoction is pretty much your go-to. You got to keep it on. It just gives you more damage for that shotgun. Important to note when switching to Poison Concoction, you want to have on 3 health flasks, 2 of them the highest level and 1 of them a lower level that you can use. Because if you don't do that, then Poison Concoction will use all of your flask charges at the same pace. And the one that you save for yourself to heal yourself in those oh snap moments, yeah, it'll use those. So 2 of them, the highest level is the best, preferably rolled with the highest life. That gives you more damage. Higher life, the better. But again, alts are going to be something precious to you, so just get whatever you can get, and make sure you have 3 life flasks, 1 mana flask, so that you can use your dash and put up your decoy totem, etc. All right, going into Act 2. So here is where you can pick up elemental damage with attack skills for when you get Explosive Concoction in Act 3. One really important thing to note is that you're going to want to do the Golden Hand quest on the 2nd floor of the crypt. We normally have to go that way anyways to go unlock a trial for Ascent. So, I mean, what's one more floor, because you can get this reward called Survival Secrets, which is really good for either concoction. You also want to grab Herald of Agony and Defiance Banner. You can have your Herald of Agony set up with that Pierce I told you to grab earlier in Act 1. Or you can put on Void Manipulation, although I think the Pierce is better. Or Vicious Projectiles that you get after Weaver. The Defiance Banner and Herald of Agony come from Helena's quest, so after that you can grab both of them and get rolling with that for more damage. That's pretty much all we get in Act 2. So moving on to Act 3. Act 3 is where we finally get Explosive Concoction. It is a gem that we get after killing Gravicius. However, we have to, again, buy it from the vendor. So make sure to save some currency to buy that from the vendor. Also, you can find it on the ground. That could happen. One thing to note is that you're going to have to do the library to get yourself Fire Pen, so that's going to take a little extra time out of your Act 3. And again, very important to mention, after getting Explosive Concoction, if you do not have either a Topaz or Sapphire Flask, preferably both, don't switch. Don't switch until you get one or the other, because the damage doesn't feel as good. Once you have one of the flasks, your gem setup will be Explosive Concoction, Elemental Damage with attack skills, Volley, and Fire Pen. And honestly, this is the gem setup you're going to be running until you're going to be farming maps with. You can also pick up Elemental Weakness in Act 3 and curse bosses or enemies, anything that you're finding slightly too difficult. I actually, in this footage, I completely forgot to pick up and use Elemental Weakness, and I was slapping. So, that's just extra. One thing to note is that I would normally do lab right before I was headed off to Callum and Duresso, but since you're a Scion, you only get an additional skill point, and it's not exactly necessary, so you can leave it till the end of Act 7, beginning of Act 8, where you would run Cruel and do your normal Cruel and grab the Berserker Ascendancy. When you get Berserk in Act 8, it is so much fun. You get your Berserk on, you get some rage going, you start zooming. It is super enjoyable. And then make sure to be grabbing Pathfinder Ascend from Merciless Lab before killing Katava in Act 10. Now we're going to move on to early maps. So by this point, you probably found a Chaos or two, hopefully. And you can grab yourself a Frostferno. They are insanely common. I have it up here right now. They cost about 1C last league, and they were 1C, and then they were, oh my god, they jumped to 2C. 2C at the end of the league randomly for some reason, and then they went back. So they're like really cheap, and you're going to be using the Frostferno until you're ready to put on your Skin of the Loyal or Skin of the Lords. Like, this thing is going to stay with you for a long time. It is where your Explosive Concoction will go, because Concoction gains the most damage off of gem levels. So and the nice thing is, while it is a 4-link, you don't have to worry about trying to gain a 5-link or a 6-link right in the beginning of league. Another nice thing to note is that if you're SSF, I'm sorry, it's going to be a little harder to find the Frostferno. However, you could spec into the Atlas Fated Unique passive, and there is a card now that gives you a double corrupted Fated Unique. I actually last league got a Frostferno that had like +2 lightning, +2 colds, and I think I sold it for 4x. But what I'm saying is, with a Explosive Concoction, it has all the tags. It's got projectile, it's got lightning, cold, fire, AoE. So if you want to try to find some super cheap +2/+2 helmet to give yourself even more Explosive Concoction damage early game, that is totally viable, or even just one of the +2s is totally viable. And again, super cheap, because nobody cares about Frostferno, which is really great for us. Also, you're going to want to pick yourself up a Carcass Jack. Now, because again, you don't need any 6-links, you can just get yourself a 4-link Carcass and put in what you need. And it looks like they cost nothing at the beginning of the league. They're very big damage, and it's pretty easy to find a Carcass. This one, I'm a little on the fence about. It's really up to you. It depends on how you like to farm, what you find. I like to say go with that Zeri's step because you get life, big spell suppression, and move speed. But honestly, at the beginning of the league, if you find good spell suppression, move speed, and life, like you can get that in a rare. It may not go up to 26 spell suppression, but even 19 spell suppression, you don't necessarily need to get these. It looks like at league start, they start at like 52, maybe they go up to like 60 here, and then they drop down. So this might be too pricey for you. So definitely take a look at the cheaper rare options that you can get. Number one thing to mention, for all league starts, make sure your res is capped. It sucks to die randomly because you got 30 cold res and you got completely frozen to death. Another thing to note is if you have the room and you don't currently have a lot of cold res, or you don't have a flask that says cannot be frozen, you can also put on Arctic armor because that gives you freeze immunity, physical damage reduction while stationary, and it's just like, yeah, I'll wear this for a little bit of defenses until I get my defenses back to where they should be. Make sure as well that dex can be a little tight on this build, so you're gonna want to have dex on some piece of gear. Any piece of gear that has an available suffix for it. And once you've made all of these checkpoints, it's time to look at the mid-range tree and what upgrades that you can get from there. One thing I will say about the mid-range is that gem level will give you the most damage, but you probably want to look into saving and getting yourself your glorious vanity. Ahuana, is that how I say the name? You can correct me if I'm wrong, let me know. This is the one you want because you get Immortal Ambition, and that is where you get your Overleach from. Later on, you're gonna get a Flesh and Flame combination that will allow you to either spec into the Slayer or have the Slayer to have your notable. So this isn't a forever thing, but this is fantastic defense. As we see at the beginning of the league, it's about 195, then it drops down to like, what, 160, 175, and then it slowly goes from there. It's gonna be the most expensive, but probably one of your most defensive items. This is all the advice, all the tips and tricks I have for league starting as Explosive Concoction. Let me know how you feel about it if you're league starting this. And I hope you guys have an awesome league start, and see you guys later.